Well guys, I want to do a little how-to video on screen for, like, if you tumble coins and tumble stuff, or even if you're bringing your stuff in from the field and you want to clean it off and keep it, you know, where it doesn't go down in the sink and mess your stuff up. But mainly what I'm going to use this for is when I tumble. I do a lot of my coins and everything, I tumble them in my tumblers, and then I have the rocks that's in there with the coins, and I need to separate them out. Well, this is going to be a screen that separates mainly for the tumbling, but it also works good if you're just using it, if you want to use like this 1/2-inch screen and you want to tumble, or not really tumble, but just clean some stuff up in it. It lets all the smaller stuff go through, and then you can have a place to store it, you know, kind of too, and hold it together, and it doesn't get away from you. What I've got is this bucket that I've done. I've finished this one. This is a 1/2-inch screen, and I just bought these at the Dollar Tree. They cost you $1. They're not real thick, heavy plastic, but they work. I think they're going to work fine. And I cut the bottom out, as you can see. I cut inside. Well, let's look at it from this side. You can see the little edge I've got in there, about a 1/4 of an inch, I guess, is what I left inside of a lip. And then I took a 1/2-inch screen and trimmed it to fit just inside of the little. You can see this little lip right here, a little edge. It's on the inside of that, and it just lays right down in there. And I took me a little weight, get it over here, and put the screen in there, held my weight down, and then epoxied it right inside. Just laid some epoxy down in there, and it held that screen in there. Now this is a heavier 1/2-inch screen. I'm gonna do another screen and show you how to do it. I'm using the smaller 1/8-inch screen, I guess is what this is, or yeah, it's about an 1/8-inch screen, but it's a heavier gauge. It's not like screen that you put in your door. That's way too light and way too flimsy. This is a little heavier gauge. I'm hoping this will work. I'm gonna cut my hole in here and then lay it in here and epoxy this in there. And what I'm gonna do is do it as a layer. This is going. The next one, I've got 2 of them in case I screwed one up or whatever. But when I use my tumbler, I'll show you here in a little while when I get it done, is I'll have coins and rocks in my tumbler. So what I'm going to do is I'll use this as the top one. I'll pour my whole tumbler into here, and then when I shake it up, all it's going to be left in here is coins. And then in this one, there'll be another smaller screen like I showed you there. It'll be in here, and then all I have to do is shake it, and the water will go through, and all I have is my rocks left back in there. And then I can have them drying and get ready to put them back in the tumbler jars. So anyway, I'll show you step by step. That was a bit of an overview. This one's done. This was working, so I'll get back with you. All right, what I use is my Dremel. You see, got ahead of myself. I've just drawn a little line, about a 1/4 of an inch inside the lip here. You can see I didn't, and it's nothing exact. I mean, you don't. It's not rocket science, and it's not NASA, but just give yourself about a 1/4 of an inch. Inside of here, line, give you a line to go by. I get my Dremel tool. It's not really the right bit. It's really a metal cutting bit, but it works. So, you know, it's what I had. And I've used it on that one. It worked fine. So, then I go through and I'll just cut the edge. I'll cut this out and I'll get right back with you. Okay, now I've got the inside cut out. Got my little lip. Went and trying to smooth the edges out a little bit. Just kind of, you know, when you cut that with that one blade, it kind of burns it and melts it a little bit, so you got to clean up the edges. And then you can see it's a little rough, so I took my Dremel brush that I got from a Dremel tool, a little brush, and I went down in there and roughed that up to give it a little bit of a bite, so the epoxy will stick a little bit better. This old slick epoxy, when I did this one, and the epoxy would drip over the edge right here, when I did it a little bit, it just popped right off with that slick plastic. And I knew it would. I knew that plastic wouldn't hold it good. So I roughed that up real good. Give it a little bit of a bite. Something to adhere to. So, alright, I got that done. Now, I'm going to cut my screen and put it in there. And hopefully, I don't know if that weight that I've got is probably too heavy. I probably won't be able to use it. It's going to sag. So I may have to build it up in the middle with something, put some support underneath it when I put that screen on there. What that weight does, though, it keeps that screen pushed down in here in this little groove so it doesn't pop up and it doesn't move when you start epoxying it. And this stuff sets up. Now I used some regular epoxy the last time. This is just Ace, you know, hardware stuff. This is plastic repair epoxy. This dries a little bit longer. It said it takes 10 to 15 minutes to dry. The other one was like 5 to 6 minutes. It dried real quick. But it really wasn't made for plastic, but I think it'll work fine. This one I went ahead and used, and I figured, well, whichever one breaks, I know which one not to use. So this is what I'm using, is just this plastic repair epoxy. Alright, be back when I get the screen in. Alright, I've got my screen cut and got my weight. It did hold, and that screen's pretty stout. That's kind of a heavy weight. That thing weighs 3 or 4 pounds. Solid 3/4 inch steel, I guess. Anyway, but that's holding it down. And then I'll take and mix up my epoxy with my little stick there. Mix it up, and then just dab it down in here in this little, right on this lip, all around here. And make sure that it's all covered. Make sure my screen's sitting down in there and that lip good. So when that dries all the way around there, it'll just be a seal all the way around. So, alright, let me do the epoxy and I'll be right back with you. Alright, I've got everything glued. I will give you a little hint. I do not care for that plastic epoxy. As for one, you could see it does not dry clear like the regular epoxy. I wasn't sure, and it stinks. I mean, well, as far as it's very, very strong. You about have to be outside to use it. I mean, it was pretty stout. It about made you high. Anyway, it worked. Seemed to work, and it's just as hard as a brick. And I think it'll work and adhere fine. But I don't think it's not it's thicker, and I don't think it seems to ooze down in there as well. As you can see, it kind of doesn't look as pretty as this one. So I would use regular epoxy if it was me. That's just me. Anyway, here's how it's going to work. Okay, I'm going to take that basket, which has got the fine mesh, and I'm going to put the 1/2 inch mesh down over top of it. Now, for example, if I've got this is one of my Tumbler barrels. It's got rocks and some clad in it, alright? And that's typically, it would have water in it when it gets done and nasty and dirty and everything like that. So I would take this, I would dump this into the first screen, which has the bigger screen. And as I take it around, of course all the gravel is going to fall down into the next screen. Well, if you're in your sink, then all the water is going to go through the screen, and all you're going to have is gravel. And, you know, the one thing I did notice that you're going to have to do too is if you use this gravel, you see that there's some smaller pieces that's going to fall out. I had another bucket, so what I did was I had some of the smaller gravel. I've used this gravel a lot, so it's broke down and some of it's a little smaller. But you're going to have to sift your gravel, if you've already been using it a while, sift it into, either just sift it into trash or sift it into something in the house, and get the smaller rocks out of that's going to fall through. So that way when you get all your rocks sifted, then you can put this right straight into the sink, or your whatever you're going to wash it out of, and you won't be putting gravel into your sink. So that's just a little hint. Anyway, I thought it's going to work good. I think it's going to work really good. You see that it separates out everything real good. And then you can take and just leave this in the barrel. I would just leave this like it is, spread it out, and let it, set it up to where it didn't set flat on the surface, and maybe do it sideways on your other, either screen or another bucket, and let this air dry. See, set it up there, or set it on something to where it would elevate it, and the air coming up from the bottom will dry your gravel out a little quicker. And then when it's dry, you can pour it right back into your barrel and be ready for the next batch. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was something you could use, something you might be able to try out. But anyway, I bought these barrels, these little pails, at the Dollar Tree. They're $1 a piece. The glue was about $4 for the epoxy. The screen, I bought a 1 linear foot of it. It was like $2.50 at the hardware store for that fine mesh. I guess that bigger mesh is probably about the same. So you don't have a whole lot in it, and it lasts a long time. And anyway, I think it'll be useful. I'm going to give it a try and see how it works. You guys try it too. Thanks. We'll see you guys later. Appreciate you watching. Please subscribe.